Lacey from Pelusi in the South Side, and this is my model, Harley. Today we will be doing a disconnected pixie cut and transforming her into a whole new style. Now, one of the things you want to look at whenever you are doing such a transformation and cutting so much length is their hairline. Our photo that we had for our inspiration did pull forward a little bit, but with her hairline it tends to grow back, so we will have to make some changes with that. And another thing you want to check is around her front hairline as well, which we shouldn't have any issues because it does grow forward and down a little bit. So we've just finished getting shampooed. I did use our longevity shampoo and conditioner because we are trying to add some strength since we will be coloring her hair afterwards. We are going to start in the nape area. So the first step you want to do is make sure everything is combed down very well. And then I'm going to subdivide and cut my first guide. Now, like we said before, her hairline does grow in, so we're going to be mindful of that when cutting. When cutting, you want to make sure that you stay parallel to your V-shaped partings. And then now that we have our guide, we're going to start taking our next section. Our sections should be thin enough that you can see through them. That way we can continue to follow our guide. And we're going to follow the V-shaped partings all the way. Now we're going to take our final section before we start some graduation in the back. So for our graduation, we're going to take down another V-shaped parting. Once that's down, we'll comb through, make sure everything's nice and smooth, and then we're going to take smaller V-shaped partings starting from the center. We'll comb these out. And then for the graduation, you're just going to shift upwards, let the bottom, her hairline drop out, and then this is what we're going to trim off right here. Just bring that down. Now, I like to start with just a slight graduation, and then I can always go back and add more if needed. So we're going to take a little bit from our first section that we did the graduation on, and then add to it. And continue through the sides. And then continue that through both sides. One thing to remember is you can always trim any excess length off just to get it out of your way before doing the graduation. It'll make it a little easier whenever you are trying to over direct the hair up. And that way we only have that little bit to cut versus several inches. down my next section. Maintaining the V-shaped partings the whole way up. Now whenever you go to comb the hair down, make sure you are double checking that you're not over directing the hair out of its natural growth pattern. You don't want to pull it out of its growth pattern, because then whenever they are trying to style their hair on a normal basis, it'll make it a little bit more difficult. Plus it can affect how the hair is laying whenever you go to style and everything. And again, I'm just gonna cut this excess hair off, the length right here, just to make it a little easier whenever I'm going in with my graduation. Still following a parallel to my V-shaped partings. And now we can go in with another section of metric graduation. Now that we're making our way around the last section, something you want to keep in mind is whenever you are graduating that you're working above the round of the head, that you're building up. So you graduate up, and this helps build volume and body, which is not always easy to get whenever we are going with such a short style. So take our V-shaped partings for our graduation, and you always want to think up. We're building up from above the round. Now we're gonna move forward into our sides. Now that we're finished with the back section and have everything shaped the way we want, we're gonna move forward into the sides. Now with this haircut, it will be a little bit asymmetrical. So this side will have less than the other. We are going to make sure that her ear is completely cut out so that we can see it for this side. Again, we're gonna stick with our V-shaped partings. I am just gonna take this out just to kind of get it out of my way real quick. And then I'm gonna work up from the front just so that I can make sure I have a little bit of length here in front of her ear. Now I want to connect the side to the back, so I am going to pull this out and we're gonna blend it down into, from the shoulder down into around her hairline. And we can kind of work with that once I trim this up here. I feel that going around her ear and setting our guide for the side tends to be a little bit more free form, because everyone's hairline around their ear can be a little bit different, especially too since we're cutting it out. I want to make sure it's going to lay just right over her ear, so I'm trying to not have a strict guideline compared to our V-shape parting. And then again, I'm going to pull her ear, just kind of pull it back out of my way, and then we'll blend from the back to the side. And we can take our next section. Through the sides, we are going to do symmetric graduation again. We can kind of start that now that we have our line set and have our ear cut out. So I'm taking a little bit from the back, a little bit from the front, going up, and we can cut that. I'm going to do a little slide cutting to blend from our length here and the top. It does taper down. We still have some layering and everything to do, but we can start moving forward to our next side. Since we are doing more of a undercut style and a disconnection, I'm going to just cut this side and this section. As you can see, I brought it up about the same height as we just did on the other side. And I'm gonna cut this exactly the same as what we just went over. So we're just finishing our graduation around the sides here again. Just kind of matching this up from what we did previously on the other side. And again, we're gonna leave this little longer piece here in the front just to kind of create that point that we want for the pixie cut. A good way to do that is just to slide cut down the front. Get that nice little pixie point. And then once again, you can see this tapers down nicely around her ear and gives us that nice little pixie point. So we have our final section here all combed down. As you can see, it is a little disconnected. We have our shorter section that we just finished underneath. I'm gonna comb this front down here and kind of set a guide as to how far I want this to come down. We also have to keep in mind you want your parting and your fingers to be parallel. So since we want this to kind of come down right to her cheekbone area, I'm gonna start and set my guide right here. Continuing my angle all the way up. once we finish cutting the length through this section, we will go in and we're gonna add some layers and texturize. That way it doesn't just sit so heavy along her face. Now that we have the length cut for the side, we're gonna go in and start doing some layering. A good way to layer a style like this is to over direct. That way we don't take from our length, but we can build some layers in here. From the back here, we're gonna start. I'm gonna comb this up real smooth. I'm gonna over direct into the opposite direction from where we have the hair going. And you can see our length here has dropped out. So we're working with what would be considered like above the round for this section. We're gonna just take this little bit off here and comb it back. That adds some layers in there so that way we can get more movement and it'll be more of like a playful style. I'm gonna leave a little veil out around her hairline so that way we can keep this length here. And then we're gonna over direct this as our last section. And you can see now with her natural wave, how those layers are starting to define themselves. From here, we're going to dry and style her hair and then maybe work in a little texturizing. So as you can see, we just finished drying her hair and she does have a lot of hair, so we've tended to build up a little bit of bulk right in here. So our next step will be to texturize. So that way we can kind of get a little bit more of a wispy style, easier for whenever we go in with some product and everything to piece out these little hairs here. So to do that, we are gonna over direct again. So I'm gonna start with my V-shaped partings kind of back here towards her crown area. I'm gonna over direct and then I'm gonna glide, which what this does is it helps break it up by taking out little bits of hair. And then whenever you comb it back, we have a much lighter feel. So we've released the weight from our top section. I'm gonna turn so that way we can see. But we still have a little bit of weight down here, so I am gonna do some graduation again. And just ever so slightly dice into this little heavy section right here. And that helps shatter that a little bit. Make sure whenever you get her on the front that you do drop out her hairline so that we're not cutting into that. And that really, as you can see now, took away all that extra bulk that we had built up.
Hi, I'm Kristen, and we are here with Harley today. She just got her hair cut with Lacey. So today we're going to focus on coloring the cut. So we already did our consultation. She is a level 6. We're taking her up to a level 7, giving her a little bit of gold, but also a violet tone in there. We're going to take the sections according to how her hair is going to lay. So what we're going to be doing is taking a V-shaped section, very heavy, And we're going to foil those back-to-back foils. We're gonna lighten those up with a lightener. In between, we are going to use a level 7 with 20 volume and bring her up just a smidge. And then we're gonna go ahead and go through with a toner, a demi-permanent color, just to cool down some of the highlights and blend everything together. So it's gonna look really awesome. It's gonna be a new Harley today, and we're going to make sure that this is going to fit her cut perfectly. Okay, so what we're gonna do is start our sectioning, and we're gonna take V-shaped partings. These are going to be where our highlights are going to be placed. So we are going to keep out a small veil around the front. The V-shaped sections I'm going to clip out of my way, and then we're gonna come back to those and do the back-to-back foils in those. So we're gonna take another section over here. This section is gonna be, the sections I'm leaving out are gonna be the all over color. Keep your sections nice and neat and clean, and you're coming down into a point, so you see the V. Okay, so now that we have her foils in, we're gonna go ahead and put her all over color on. We're gonna process it for about a half hour, and then we are going to shampoo her and then put a toner on, and then we will be done. So we're gonna go ahead and go through all the foils. It's very important that you make sure that you take section by section and get in between every single foil so that you don't miss any pieces. We're gonna go ahead and apply root stems. So here's Harley, our finished product. Lacey did a great job detailing the cut a little bit, and also her color is completed. We will show you the finished product. So this is Harley's new do. We love it, we're excited. What do you think, Harley?
I love it too, perfect.
Feel the Pelusi, I cut above the rest.